Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. My name is Peter Loshak. Today is Thursday, October 19th, and we are about to preview UFC 118 with our regular returning guest, Andreas Hale. Andreas and I, of course, are coming off of yet another successful MMA event, UFC 216. Andreas Hale, we did it again in UFC 216, winning picks overall in that one. Congratulations to both of us.
Yeah, it feels pretty good. Hope we're making some people some money out here and they're listening to us.
It does feel pretty good. And I'll tell you what, UFC Fight Night 118 coming up this weekend in Poland. 4 interesting fights on the main card. And I do think, they're all interesting from a handicapping perspective. I do think I'm seeing some value in some of these fights. We'll see if you agree. The first fight is, of course, very interesting. Darren Till against Donald Cerrone. And if you recall, Andreas Hale, I rarely give picks on the undercards, but I've been following Till so closely, and I like him so much that I gave him actually as a pick, even though he wasn't on the main card in his last fight. And of course, he won. And in that one, I said that I was going to keep betting him when he was facing inferior competition until he took a big step up. Here's the step up, right?
Yeah, this one's a little bit surprising to me. I mean, I get why they're doing this kind of in Till's backyard, being overseas, and but it's Donald Cerrone, and I'm so fascinated by this line and how they came up with this. I'm looking at Till and I'm saying this guy hasn't even fought a guy who's fought top 10 competition. I don't get it.
Right. This is a major, major step up, and it caught me a little bit by surprise. I thought that he was going to fight a few more fights where we would have good value just betting on him, knowing he was going to get win after win after win, and then eventually face a guy of this caliber. But here he is. So a lot of people have weighed in with their opinions on this one. A lot of opinions that I have read actually are saying that Till actually doesn't have much of a chance here. I'm not sure what I think about it. Obviously, Till's going to have some physical advantages here, an age advantage. I'm thinking, though, that in this fight, obviously, it's scheduled for 5 rounds, right? Now, Till stepping up in competition this starkly, this quickly, we don't exactly know how he's going to react to that. We know that Cerrone's last fight did go the distance, but, his 7 fights before that all finished, and they were all finished, I think, within 3 rounds in all of them. And so this is a 5-round fight, scheduled for 5 rounds. I'm thinking that one way or another, we do see a finish before 5 rounds, and that's just at minus 175. So I don't know how Till and Cerrone might necessarily match up in terms of who's likely to win the fight, but doesn't it seem like the fight not going the distance at minus 175 is a good bet?
Yeah, it does. I mean, Cerrone's a very exceptional striker who's prone to finishing opponents, and he's finished off a lot of people. I'm not going to say that they're better than Darren Till, but I mean, these are great fighters that he's finishing. So I guess a lot of people are looking at the last 2 fights that he lost and maybe saying that's why the line is so close. But either way, I just don't see Till being able to hang for 25 minutes, or Cerrone, maybe his chin is betraying him and maybe age is getting to him. One way or another, I think this fight doesn't go 5 rounds.
Yeah, it feels like either Cerrone's going to get surprised by Till's talent, or Till's going to get surprised by the step up in class. And one way or another, the fight doesn't go 5 rounds. 5 rounds is a lot of rounds for a Cerrone fight. I'm going to make that an official pick. The fight not going the distance is currently minus 175 at 5 dimes. So I will definitely add that one onto my official record. And as far as who's likely to win the fight, who might have betting value, right now Cerrone is the favorite at minus 150. Till on the other side at plus 130. And I really honestly don't know. And I've looked into this fight quite a bit. I really don't know what to make of those odds. If you gave me a free bet on it right now, I guess I would take Till at plus 130, but I don't know. What's your take on the current odds and each fighter's likely chances of winning?
I'm giving Till literally no chance.
Yeah, I've heard that. Other people have said that.
It's just you're fighting a guy who's a high volume striker who has fought elite competition. Some he's lost to, some he's beaten. Cerrone has this thing about his career where he loses a fight and then he goes on a tear and he wins like 5 or 6 in a row. It seems like he has a brain fart somewhere in one of his fights. He loses, he gets stopped by somebody like Rafael dos Anjos, a body kick from Anthony Pettis. Then he peels off 5 or 6 wins. I think it's about to happen again. You look at Cerrone and what he's accomplished. He's a very capable striker, which I've said before, but his ground game is supremely underrated. I've watched Till fight, and I think he's really good. However, I see him being way in over his head. I'm not understanding the plus 130. I'm also wondering, I guess Sean Shelby, a UFC matchmaker, had to see something that we aren't seeing. But even still, I don't understand how anybody could pick against Donald Cerrone in this fight. And at minus 150, it's almost a steal to me because Till's, again, he hasn't fought a guy who has fought a guy who's been a top 10 or top 15 fighter. So when you put that together, I know MMA math is a little crazy, but that's a huge step up in the competition to a guy who's fought for a title, who has fought top contenders, who just fought Robbie Lawler in a hell of a fight. Can't see it. I got to go with Cerrone. That's my official pick.
Yeah, it is a very interesting matchup here, and a decision to for the matchmaking from a matchmaking perspective and from Till's camp's perspective. So, if you like Cerrone, do you like him at minus 150, or do you like him inside the distance at plus 145?
Here, I like him at minus 150.
Okay.
I mean, even though I'm saying that the fight, shouldn't go the distance, it's weird things that happen. And maybe Cerrone coming off of the two losses, maybe he's a little bit more patient. Maybe he's looking at Darren Till because, if you remember when he got booked for this fight, the first thing Cerrone said is, I don't even know who he is. So maybe he's going to be a little bit more patient with his approach to this fight as well. Till's not necessarily a huge finisher either. He seems like he's pretty durable. So I would just take Cerrone at the minus 150. It's not enough there for me to take it inside the distance.
All right, so then you don't think that the fight not going 5 rounds at minus 175 is actually a decent bet, or do you?
I'm on the fence. I don't think it'll happen, but it's one of those things like we talked about with the Amanda Nunes fight that you never know. And
right.
I feel more concrete in the fact that I feel like Cerrone will win one way or another. I feel that more so with better odds than this fight finishing inside the distance.
Okay, Cerrone minus 150, an official pick from Andreas Hale, and I will stick with my pick, although it might lose. If it was higher odds, then I'd stay off it. But if it loses, I lose almost 2 units, but not a huge disaster there. The fight doesn't go 5 rounds. Then the next fight is a fight where it contains features a fighter who might be in over her head, and the odds are reflecting that, and that's Jodie Esquibel going up against Karolina Kowalkiewicz, who's coming off of course, a surprising loss where she got subbed. Kowalkiewicz is minus 470 right now. Esquibel is plus 375 on the other side, and this is scheduled for 3 rounds. The over 2.5 is minus 280, so strong odds in favor of Kowalkiewicz getting a win and the fight going the distance. And I'm thinking that maybe there's a shot with Kowalkiewicz coming off the loss and having such an advantage here, looking to get a finish. Not sure. On paper, it looks like Kowalkiewicz does have this much of an advantage over Esquibel, and maybe Kowalkiewicz at minus 470 is actually worth a play. What do you think?
I hate those long shot odds, but Kowalkiewicz, she's lost 2 fights in a row. She got surprised and dominated essentially by Claudia Gadelha, but she just has so many advantages in this fight that it's hard to bet against her. The problem is even looking at this fight inside the distance, her opponent here, Jodie, has only been submitted once in her career.
Right.
So she doesn't have that many fights. This is a fight I just got to stay away from. I'm thinking Kowalkiewicz is going to win, but I'm not sure exactly how. So I'm going to stay off of this one. But she should have a huge advantage in this fight.
Yeah, and just a little bit too high. Because that one, if you lose, if you bet it and you lose, you win 1 unit, you lose 5 units, and that can be tough to recover from. So we've all been there.
Exactly.
All right, next fight on the card is Jan Blachowicz, and going up against Devin Clark, and Devin Clark is minus 155, a favorite right now, and Blachowicz is 135 as an underdog, and he has lost 4 out of his last 5 fights in the UFC. It's a tough competition, of course, but seems like Clark should have the significant edge here. Blachowicz's conditioning, of course, is his biggest issue, and looks like that's not going to be solved ever. Certainly not in this fight. And looks like Clark, despite the fact that he's kind of a raw prospect, it's a good matchup for him to go up against a guy with conditioning issues. So I'm thinking that Clark at minus 155, worth a shot. What do you think? You agree with that?
I agree with that too. I think Jan is in a situation where he just lost to Patrick Cummins, lost to Alexander Gustafsson, he lost to Corey Anderson, Jimmy Manuwa. That's 4 of his last 5, and Devin Clark is no slouch. So I think the odds are justified here, and I think Clark should have a significant advantage. It's likely that this fight goes the distance as well. But I think if that happens, if Jan is not knocking people out, he's gonna have a hard time here. So yeah, I'm definitely going with Devin Clark. That's definitely a pick of mine.
Yeah, 9 of Jan's last 10 fights went to the decision, and Clark's last 2 went to decision as well. This fight going to the decision is actually only going 3 rounds, is only minus 170. You think that's worth a shot? I'm just concerned because of Jan's cardio, his conditioning issues. He might get subbed.
It's a 3-round fight. It's just Devin he's not a huge submission guy. He's not a huge finisher. So I'm leaning towards this fight going the distance, but I won't make that an official pick. I have to stay off of that.
Okay, well, I will make Devin Clark an official pick at minus 155. I think that Jan's issues with conditioning are just gonna fell him here one way or the other. So I'll make that a second official pick. And then the 4th fight on the main card is Jonathan Wilson against Oscar Pihota, and Peyota's a big, prospect, a talented prospect, a guy who gets finishes fight in and fight out. And this is a fight also scheduled for 3 rounds. The total is 1.5 rounds. The over is 1.5 minus 120, the under plus 100. So clearly the market expecting a finish one way or the other in this one. And I would agree with that. I think that maybe this fight not going the distance at minus 260, despite the fact that it's another big favorite line there, feels like it's worth a shot anyway. What do you think about that one? Is there any way this fight goes 3 rounds?
Possible, not likely. Jonathan Wilson's a guy who's, he's been finished 2 fights ago, I believe. He tends to finish his opponents. So I think one way or another, he's not trying to see this thing go to the judges. And with the prospect on the card, he's there for a reason. And that reason is to showcase, and he's opening the card too. So I figure that there's going to be stoppage inside of 3 rounds.
Right. And do you think that it feels like it's, a situation that's being set up, a win in front of his hometown for Peyota at minus 190 should he be an even bigger favorite than that?
No, I think that's right on par. He's a prospect, and we've seen prospects go up in smoke when they step up in competition and face tougher guys. I'm not saying that Wilson's a huge, tough guy here, but, you go back to the Aaron Pico fight and see what happened to him with his debut. But I kind of lean off of him, but I think this fight is not going to go the distance. One way or another, one of these guys is going down.
Yeah, and the question is just the odds. The odds of that are minus 260. It is still just a 3-round fight. Yeah. Is it worth laying, 2.5 units to win one on that?
No, it's not. No, that's a lot. That's a lot to wager there. When you got a prospect out there and you got a guy who's a little bit more seasoned, coming off of 2 losses, who might be a little tedious in there, yeah, it's a little bit too much. I have to lay off of that.
All right, so that's it. We've only got 4 fights on the main card. 4 definitely interesting fights. It'll be interesting to see how it all turns out. I have only 2 picks officially going on this one, and that's going to be Till and Cerrone not going the distance at minus 175. And I'm also going to throw on Devin Clark just to win one way or another at minus 155. And Andreas Hale, what are your picks? You love Cerrone at minus 1. You love that one. Is that too strong of a word?
Absolutely loves it. Yeah, no, it's not at all. I mean, if there was any better words, we can use them here. I love Cerrone in this fight. I don't think Till has a shot. I think he's going to be way in over his head with a high-volume striker and a fully capable ground tactician. So Cerrone's an official pick, and I'm going with you on the Devin Clark. One way or another, he's going to win that fight. So that's my other official pick.
Sounds good. Devin Clark minus 155. Cerrone only minus 150 right now. A lot of opinions I have heard, opinions I've respected, not just Andreas Hale, giving sort of the same take on it. That Cerrone is just, that Till is just way in over his head and took too big of a step up too quickly. Andreas Hale, thanks so much. Talk to you again very soon.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.